Hi, thank you for clicking on this video. In today's video, I am going to talk about how to convert recurring decimals to fractions, right? Without any waste of time. Let's get cracking. All right, so the first example says write 0, 2 that dot on top of number 2, right? Decimal number 2. That means recurring, right? So we need to write this as a fraction. Okay, so these are the steps that we are going to follow to ultimately write that whole decimal, recurring decimal, as a fraction, right? Now, let's look at step number 1. Let the number that you are writing as a fraction equal x, right? So this is the number that I'm writing I want to write as a fraction. So I'm going to say let x equals to 0, 2 recurring. All right. So this can also be written as, let me show you how, can also be written as 0, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So it's ongoing, right? So that is what it means. This dot means this number where the dot is repeating, right? So 2 will repeat. That is what recurring means. So it will repeat and it's ongoing, it does not end. All right. So that's how you can write 0, 2 with a dot on top. All right. Now we managed to write the first step or execute the first step. Okay. So let x equals to the decimal, recurring decimal you are trying to convert to a fraction. Okay. Now, second step, make a new equation, right? So I can call this equation 1, all right? So I can call that equation 1. So this will be equation 1, okay? Now, I want to make another equation by multiplying both sides, right, of that equation number 1. I'm going to multiply both sides by 10, 100, so 1000, etc., right? But the number of zeros must be equal to the number of recurring decimals, right? So for equation number 2, right, I want to multiply equation number 1, but I need to multiply by 10, 100, or 1000, or etc., depending on how many recurring decimals I have, right? So as you can see from the question, I only have one recurring decimal. How do I know? It's only because of that dot here. Okay, so that dot means this is a recurring decimal. So I only have one, right? So if you have one recurring decimal, then you're going to multiply the first equation by 10. All right. So for my second equation, I'm going to go ahead and say, for my second equation, I'm going to multiply. So this is first equation. Okay. So this is my first equation. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm going to put down my first equation as 0, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. just like that. Okay, so this is my first equation. Remember, x can be written as, that can be written as 0,22222. So this is my first equation, right? I want to multiply it by 10. We established that we're going to multiply it by 10. Why? Because we only have one recurring decimal. Therefore, the number of zeros will be 1. That is why we multiply it by 10. So I'm going to put 10 here and multiply by 10 that side. Okay, so my answer will be 10x, all right? And then when you multiply this by 10, it simply means it only shifts with to the right with one step. So it's going to be 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, so that will translate as 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, etc. Right, so this can also be written as, 2 with a dot, right? I can replace the whole 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 with 1, 2 and put a dot, right? This is what I mean by that. So if I put that like that, so 2 with a dot on top, it replaced whatever that I had here. Okay, so 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 is the same as 2, 2 with a dot. Okay, I'm going to put this as it is. So this will be 10x. Okay, therefore this is my second equation. All right, now I managed to do first step and the second step. All right, now the third step says you need to subtract the initial equation from the new equation, right? So it's basically equation 2 minus equation 1, right? So equation 2, which is 10x, right, minus x. So it's on this side. So it's going to be 10x minus x, okay? And then on the right hand side, right, so you have 2, 2 dot, right, for equation 2. So I'm going to minus what I have for equation 1, all right? So that will give me 2, 2 dot minus 0, 2 dot, which is for equation number 1. Okay. So just to illustrate, I can say this is equation 2 minus equation 1. Right. So this is the step that I am busy with here. All right. Now I'm going to simplify. Okay. This is the other step. Solve for x, and simplify where possible. So this is what I'm going to do. Simplify 10x minus x, right? So this will give you 9x, right? And on the other side, what do you have? You have 2, 2 dot minus 0, 2 dot, right? So that was the aim, to have that so that we can only deal with the numbers before a comma, right? So this will cancel each other. That is why we have whatever that we have here, and therefore, so it's going to be 2 minus 0, okay, which is 2. I have 2. So solving for x, this will be 2 over 9. Okay, so I just simply divide both sides by 9. Okay, so example number 2. Example number 2, we need to write 0.35. So both decimals have a recurring sign, right? So these two dots, so meaning that 3 and 5 is repeating. Okay, so we need to write that as a fraction, like how we went about the first example. We're going to follow the same steps so that we can write this as a fraction, right? Step number 1, let the number that you are writing as a fraction equal x. Okay, so this is the number that I want to write as a fraction. I'm going to say this number must equals to x, right? So first step is let x equals to 0.35 dot dot, right? That is my first step. Okay, now what does this mean? So if you have 3, 5 and you have those dots, right, how can you write that? So this can also be written as 0.35. Remember, so it's 35. These two, that means 3 and 5 are repeating. So I'm going to write 3 and 5 again. Okay, 3, 5. Okay, so I'm going to repeat 3, 5 and again 3, 5. So just like that. Okay, that is how you can write 0.35 and 35. Both of them have that dot or recurring sign. Okay, meaning they are repeating. Okay, now second step, make a new equation. So I can call this equation number 1. All right, so this can be my equation number 1. I want to multiply both sides of equation 1 by 10 or 100 or 1000, etc. Right? But how do I know which one to choose between 100, 10, 100,000, etc. Right? So that depends on the number of recurring decimals, right? So the number of zeros depends on the number of recurring decimals. I have two recurring decimals. Therefore, I will have 2 zeros, which is 100. Okay, so that means I'm going to multiply equation number 1 by 100. Right, so I'm going to write equation number 1 as x equals to 0.353535, etc. Right, and multiply it by 100. Okay, so I'm going to put equation number 1 here. So this is my equation number 1. Okay, now that is equation number 1, right? So I'm going to multiply it by 100. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 100. So equation number 1 is equation number 1. So for equation number 2, I'm going to multiply it by 100. So it's going to be 100x. Right. So if I multiply this side by 100, what does it mean? That comma will only move twice. Okay. So that will be, the comma will be somewhere here. Right. So my answer will be 35, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. It's continuing like that. Okay, so this is my equation this is my equation 2. Okay, but let me simplify it so that it can be in a format as equation number 1, right? So this means it's 100 x 35 comma 35, and I can put that recurring there, right? So that recurring, it's the same as 35 35 35, etc., right? So I just simplify it like that. Okay, now I can call this my equation number 2. So this is equation number 2. Now let's go to the third step. The third step says you need to subtract the initial equation, that is the initial equation 1, from equation number 2, right? So basically what we do is that we need to say equation 2 minus equation 1, right? What do we have for equation 2? We have 100x minus x. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write 100x minus x. That is for equation number 2 minus equation number 1, right? This side. The left side minus the left side of equation 1. All right? Therefore, the right side of equation 2 minus the right side of equation 1, right? So 35 comma 35 dot dot will minus 0 comma 35 dot dot. All right, let me write that. So that will be 35, okay, 35 dot dot minus 0 comma 35 dot dot. I hope you can see that. Okay, so 100x minus x, that is 99x, right? And then 35 minus 35 dot dot 35 comma 35 dot dot minus 0 comma 35 dot dot. That will be 35. Okay, same as 35. Now my answer is 35 divided by 99. This is my answer. All right, so I just divide both sides by 99. So if you punch this on your calculator, right, the answer that I expect you to get is 0 comma 35 35 35, recurring like that. Now we have managed to write this as a fraction. Example number 3. Write 0 comma 3. Look at that. That has a dot, right? 2 does not have a dot, but the last number, which is 5, it does have a dot, right? We need to write that as a fraction, right? So one thing to note about this type of a question is that this, the whole thing here, right, is, so this is a shorthand notation, okay? So a shorthand notation meaning it's just a summary or another way to write it, right? So it's a shorthand notation for 0 comma 3 2 2 5. So I'm going to put the dots there, right? Or you can say 0 comma 3 2 2 5 and put a line there, okay? So you can use a shorthand notation if you don't want to put, let's say you have 3 here, and then you have numbers in between which are repeating, and there is a lot of them. So you just put a dot on the first number that is repeating and the last one that is repeating, to avoid you having to put dots everywhere, right? So if you see something like this, just know this is a shorthand notation for what? For this. Okay, so this, it can either be 0, 3225 with dots, or you can just simply connect the dots and put a line. All right. So yeah, so keep that in mind. Now, we are going to go ahead and simplify using the steps that we know. All right. Now, the first step is that let whatever that you want to convert to a fraction equal x. All right. So I'm going to say let x equal 0, 3225, right? So that is my x. All right. Now, remember this, right, can be written as, keep that in mind. This can also be written as 0, 3225, right? Therefore, it's going to repeat again. 3225. Repeat again. 3225, etc. Right. So this whole thing is here. Now it's going to repeat again. Repeat again. Repeat. So it's ongoing. All right. So you can write that as this. Okay. Now, so I managed to do the first step. Now I can call that equation number 1. So this is equation number 1. Okay. Now remember, the second step is that we need to multiply the equation number 1 by 10 or 100 or 1,000, 10,000. But the number of zeros are equivalent to how many decimals are repeating, how many recurring decimals we have. Okay. Now, how many recurring decimals do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means we have 4 zeros. Okay. So I am going to multiply to get equation 2. I'm going to multiply the first equation, okay, by 10,000, 4 zeros. All right. Put it like this. Okay. Now, what is my equation 1? Equation 1 is x, and this can be written as that, right? So I'm going to simply put 0, 3225, 3225, 3225, etc. Right. So this is equation number 1. Okay. Now, to get equation number 2, I multiply both sides of equation number 1 by 10,000. Right. Why? Because I need 4 zeros. 4 zeros is 10,000. So I'm going to multiply that by 10,000, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, x. Okay. And then when you multiply this side by 10,000, so this will move by 4 zeros, by 4 places, right? So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And that comma will be here, and I'm going to write the rest as they are. Okay. So 3225 will be here. Let's do that. 3225, comma will be here. 3225, 3225, just like that. Okay? Now, there is another way to rewrite what we have here. Okay? So let's rewrite. I'm going to say 10,000 x 3225, comma 3225. So I can put what? The dots here. Okay. And then I can call this equation number 2. Okay. So this is the same as that one here. All right. Now, step 3. You take equation 2, right? Equation 2 minus equation 1. What do we have for equation 2? We have 10,000 on the left-hand side. 10,000x, 10,000x. So we minus what we have on the equation 1, but on the left-hand side, which is just simply x. Okay. And then for equation 2 on the right-hand side, I have this, which is 3225, comma 3225, but with the dots there. Okay. So it's going to be 3225, comma 3225 with the dots minus whatever that I have this side. So it's going to be 0, 3 dot 3225. Okay. So I'm going to rewrite it as 0, 3225 dot. All right. Now, what do I need to do? I need to simplify. Okay. So 10,000 minus 1. So that will be 9999x. So this side I will have 3225. Okay. Now my answer will be 3225 divided by 9999. Right? If there is a way to simplify further, right, then you need to rewrite that fraction. You can put this into your calculator, right? So the final answer that I get when I put this into my calculator is 1075 divided by 3333. Okay, now this is my final answer. All right, this is the last example. We need to write 0, 2, 3 dot. There is a dot there, right? So the previous ones, we had a recurring number just after a decimal point. But this one, this is not the case, right? And if we have a recurring number just after a decimal point, then it will simplify our way of doing things, right? So following those steps that I explained in the previous slides will actually help us to write this whole recurring decimal as a fraction, right? So the first thing that we need to do is to make sure that that 3 or recurring decimal is just after a comma. How can we achieve that? Now, we know that if we multiply this by 10, right? We will, if we multiply this by 10, that comma or decimal point will move here, right? And we'll we shall have established what? A decimal recurring number to be just after a comma. All right. So let's do the first step. The first step is to let x be the number or the decimal number that you are trying to convert to a fraction. All right. So that is the first part. Right. So like I said, if you want this comma to be here so that you can have the first number after a comma to be a recurring decimal, right? You need to multiply this by 10, okay? Because we're only moving once. We multiply by 10, okay? So what will happen? I need to multiply the whole thing by 10, meaning 10 on both sides, okay? So this is simply to say I'm going to multiply by 10 on both sides. So this will be 10x and then 2 comma 3 dot on the other side. Okay. Now this I can call my equation 1. Right? So this I can call my equation 1. Equation 1. Remember, 2 comma 3 recurring can be written as 2 comma 3 3 3 3 continue like that. All right. So that is how you can rewrite that. So that dot, remember what it means? It means recurring, repeating. Okay. Now, you managed to get equation number 1, right? So when you have equation number 1, you need to look at the number of recurring decimals, right? And multiply both sides by 10, 100, 1000, depending on the number of recurring decimals, right? So I only have one recurring decimal here, okay? Meaning I'm going to multiply equation 1 by 10, right? To get equation 2. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and put equation number 1, so which is 10x 2 comma 3 3 3 3, just like that, right? So if I multiply this equation by 10, let me put it like this. If I multiply that equation by 10 to get equation 2, okay, what will happen is that 10 times 10x will be 100x, okay? So this will be 100x. And then on this side, what will I have? I'll only move by 1, right? So it's gonna be 23,333, right? So this side will be 23,333, just like that, okay? So I'm going to rewrite the right hand side as 23,3 and put a dot there, okay? Simply means that it's a recurring decimal, right? Therefore, I can call this my equation 2. So this is now my equation 2. Step 3, you need to say equation 2 minus equation 1. What do we have on the left hand side for equation 2? I have 100x. So it's going to be 100x minus 10x, right? Which is 90x. So that will be 100x minus 10x. And on the right hand side, it's going to be 23,3 dot minus 2, 3 dot. Okay. So it's this one for equation 2 minus this one for equation 1. Okay, so these are the same, so I'm only going to focus on these two before a comma, a decimal point. So this side I'll have 90x. Let me go ahead and write that, 90x, and on the right hand side I'll have 21. Okay, so x will be 21 over 90. Right. Is there a way to further simplify 21 over 90? Yes. So 21 over 90 simplified, further simplified, that will give me 7 over 30. Okay, now this is the final answer, right? So I hope you enjoyed this content, and if you found it very helpful, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.